Welcome back. Ukraine claims that it has damaged a Russian warship after a naval drone attack last night. Kyiv refuted Russian claims that all its drones were destroyed, claiming the damage caused to landing ship Novorossiysk Gorinak means that it can no longer conduct its combat missions. Well, our military analyst, Sean Bell, is with us in the studio now. Hi, Sean. Talk us through what we know about this drone attack.
Yeah, the early hours of the morning, the Russian defence ministers claimed that they've repelled a Ukrainian maritime drone attack like this. This is the sort of thing that the Ukrainians use. The Russian claims they destroyed two of these at sea, just off the port of Novorossiysk, which is the biggest Russian naval seaport on the Black Sea. What's interesting, the Ukrainians, though, normally don't claim any credit for this, but they have turned around and said, no, we were responsible for this, and they claim that the ship was actually damaged. Now roll the clock forward to this morning, and there's significant video footage and some stills showing the Novorossiysk Gorinak, the ship that was hit, listing heavily to port. If you look at the front of the deck near yours, it's very clearly tilting, and it's being dragged back into port. So it's evidently suffered some damage. And the Ukrainian maritime drones, they've increased the number of attacks that they've been doing over the course of the war. This footage that emerged, that Ukrainians have released, claims to be of attacking the ship last night. And you look at the profile, for the experts, this is the same ship. They're pretty high-tech drones. They're quite stealthy. They generally use them to attack at night when the Russians are most vulnerable. They've been using them around Crimea and particularly the port of Sevastopol as well. Normally the challenge is that when these things happen at sea, there's no independent coverage, so we can't tell. And the Russians always deny. On this occasion, it does look like the Ukrainians were successful.
Interesting. And there's been a photograph, hasn't there, of the Russian defence minister, and perhaps what it shows, or footage rather, what it shows is perhaps not as interesting as the fact that we're seeing it.
Absolutely right, yeah. The Russian media are full of Sergei Shoigu apparently visiting the front line. It's not entirely clear when or where this footage is taken. But the real story behind this is ever since Yevgeny Prigozhin did his rebellion, President Putin didn't know who he could trust, and Prigozhin described Shoigu and Gerasimov, the leader of the Russian army, as being incompetent. Now, actually, after a few weeks later, it was evident Putin still had faith. About a week ago, General Gerasimov was flooded in the media. Now it's Sergei Shoigu. All of this is designed to show that Putin has faith in his leaders, the MOD is in control, and it's business as usual in the MOD.
So he's still in the light. And just talk us through the macro picture of the whole counteroffensive.
Yeah, in the last few weeks, we've not talked a great deal about the front-line fighting, but it's massively intense fighting going this week. As a brief summary, in Bakhmut, the Ukrainians are still trying to encircle the city there, and that's dragging Russian reinforcements to the area. But the big story is the east of Zaporizhzhia, is where the front-line fighting, this spring offensive, started 8 to 9 weeks ago, expecting to see a lot of progress. In reality, it's not. And part of that is all the way along this front line here, there's a massive minefield, several kilometres deep, anti-personnel mines, anti-tank mines. Also, it's made worse that because this is all rural farmland, it's all got massively overgrown, so it's quite difficult to make their way through it and avoid the mines. And in some areas, there's 5 mines per square metre.
God.
And if you imagine the buffer is several kilometres wide, so it's taken quite a while to get through. And more worrying, 9th Corps with a corps of Ukrainians that we were expecting to be doing the attacking as soon as they break through. 10th Corps, fresh forces would then go through the gap, the floodgates. We understand now that 10th Corps have actually been committed to the fighting. Either there's been a breakthrough, we've not heard about that, or the Ukrainians desperately need reinforcements at the front. Regardless, as we stand here now, there's bloody and ferocious fighting going on along that front line.